Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're on. This is Pass and Move, the completely
100% unofficial.
100% unofficial. Sorry, I'm slightly
Liverpool podcast and videocast. Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm slightly discombobulated by the events of the last few days. I'm a little bit weary because I've been fighting with everybody, and
did you win?
Genuinely, no. Genuinely, I'm so angry. I can't be on. I can't. I've done quite well tonight because we had a drink in the pub, but genuinely, I'm so unbelievably seething with anger about this whole thing. Anyway, that was the Volstars there, Fanny Cannibals doing good thing. Cannibals apparently because he bit him. Yes, joining me, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on Pass and Move tonight is a gentleman who enjoys meat.
I'm biting into it.
I didn't have time to write an intro. He likes meat, so therefore would have enjoyed Luis Suarez eating somebody's arm.
I did titter his.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it is Stuart Wright, the 50th Street. Next to me on the other side, Ian Donnelly.
Who likes meat?
Somebody else. Yes. Who, if you were to bite his arm, it's so thin, possibly your jaw would join the other side.
My dad always said he's seen more meat on a butcher's pencil.
Yeah, well,
there you go.
I'd have gone for the flesh-eating zombies route. That would
Yeah,
link the two of them together quite nicely.
But that would have been professional
Ian
and
Don.
funny.
All right, I didn't have any time. All right, Ian the Don Donnelly, ladies and gentlemen. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the end of the row. And if Louis had started on him, he'd still be there today. There's quite a big arm to consume. Ladies and gentlemen, Wilburforce McCrimmon Moose.
Good evening.
Probably the worst intro
Yes.
I've ever done. But there we are.
Well, I would have said, in the old days, because obviously we're now on video, you would have been derobed by this point.
Derobed?
You would have been totally derobed
Hold
by
on,
this
we're
point.
early doors.
Yeah.
So, before we go into all this fucking mentalness, we should do like they did at Anfield. We should pay our respects to Anne Williams, and and there's a lovely poetry to that in the fact that what's happened earlier on in the year and all that stuff coming out and all the stuff she fought for. Fingers crossed will come to fruition. But there's a lady with incredible dignity and
it was incredibly moving. It was incredibly moving.
Yeah,
and as people that have interviewed the HFSG, we didn't get to meet Anne Williams, but you can only have nothing but immense respect for the bravery of the woman. So
incredible.
Rest in peace.
Well, I think you hear in the media, looking politicians and businessmen and all this, getting OBEs and knighthoods and things for either just doing their job, for example. And this is something really, I feel very, very strongly about, things like that. But it's the likes of, and I'm not even talking from a Liverpool supporter's point of view, I'm talking from a human point of view. It's somebody like Anne Williams who actually, what she did in her life, it actually quite humbles me because she never gave up, and it was just for the love of her son, and it just commands enormous respect compared to what these people who actually haven't done anything, and everybody says, "Oh, how wonderful!" Nothing, but that's proper, real heroism. What she did.
There was a fantastic quote that was tweeted around a lot yesterday. Was they took on the wrong city, but more importantly, they took on the wrong mothers. And I think that was beautiful. That summed it up perfectly.
And I thought it was beautiful the way that what happened at Anfield was fantastic. And also with reference to the marathon stuff and all that. I thought it was fantastic. But then the game. I mean, then after that,
Well, let's make about we're going to just talk about the game to start with, aren't we?
Well, it's tricky. I'll try my best. But first of all, after all that, and obviously it was also very emotional because, of course, of the anniversary and stuff, when it was the first game since the anniversary, and then Rafa's coming back and stuff. It was just layer upon layer upon layer of emotion. And I thought he was incredibly dignified despite everything happened. It was fantastic. Got the most amazing reception.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
And that must be, imagine being a Chelsea fan being there. It must have been like the weirdest game ever.
We were all saying actually during the game, that's the most applause and cheering he's got in any game he's been to all season.
It's and for Rodgers that must have been a bit weird as well, mustn't it? I mean, it's so weird.
But he was obviously expecting it.
Yeah, I
think
but still, it's so weird.
But it obviously, although Rodgers was expecting it, it obviously put him off his team selection.
Yeah, exactly.
Discuss.
Well, I wanted to say more than that. I wanted to just say quickly about Rafa and about when we scored our goals and when various things happened and stuff. I didn't see him getting worked up. Not when he felt like what he did when he was Liverpool manager.
He saved his criticism quite correctly for the press conference after the game. Where he mentioned the 6.5 minutes. He even referred to it apparently as, I don't see where 6.5 minutes of Fergie time came into. So he even managed to get a jibe in there. But I thought the man just held himself. We'll come on to the post-match interview later. I thought the man held himself tremendously on the day. It was
but as a manager, I thought he was sort of going through the motions a little bit with his team. Actually, you know what? We all know why, because actually he's not one of life's Chelsea fans. I don't think.
No. He's not kicking his heels.
I don't know how he would have feeled after when he'd left that game, because it must have been a really weird.
I suspect he felt, well, I'm glad that one's out the way actually.
Yeah.
And I think you could say,
and I'm happy with the 2-2.
And I think you could argue Brendan Rodgers probably had the same thought. I think that because it was an impossible thing for him to sort of. His ego's going to be, I'm the Liverpool manager.
I suspect Brendan Rodgers would have liked to have won that 5-6-0.
No, I'm sure of that. But I think after the game, he would have just been like, I'm glad that's out of the way, because I think it was, we'd had a terrible run up to that game, and it would have been an abysmal run if we'd have lost.
So, first and foremost, I want to say about the game is that, despite whatever I want to talk about the game because no one else has talked about the game, and I want to talk about the incidents in the game apart from the
most obvious one.
You know what I mean?
What's
It's kind of not. Well,
that's what it's like.
Right. So that's
my leg!
That's going to completely
dominate.
That's going to
kicked me.
It's going to dominate the next week's. That's as much as. But that's as much as it is.
He gave somebody a nasty suck.
Yeah. It's like it's regrettable. It's that happened, but let's concentrate on the game.
Well, let's be honest. Before that happened, we would have been talking about the deliberate handball that gave away the penalty that could have possibly lost us the game 2-1.
But the thing is.
Well, can I talking about the game, right? Can somebody explain to me, because I could not fathom this. Well, I'm all right, but I mean, you may get a hefty podcast ban for this once I record this.
He's got previous as well.
Once video footage is reviewed, you may get a hefty. But is that? Can anyone tell me why?
No one's going to review it. Who do you think somebody actually watches this?
No, that one's off. Why didn't Sturridge start? I mean, because
to be fair, because Sturridge when Sturridge has come back from injury, he's not been fully fit, and when he has come back, he's not been that brilliant. To be honest,
there is an unwritten rule. An unwritten law in football is when you're playing the team that the player used to play for. I have to admit that obviously Torres is exempt from that, right? When you're playing for the team you used to play for. Play the players that used to play against them, because either that he looked like he was on a shot of pure adrenaline when he came on.
Absolutely.
First half we were fucking terrible.
We were awful.
And I remember I just saw the team and the weird decision that Henderson would be the furthest forward.
Henderson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Liverpool's number 10.
Yeah.
Where the hell does that decision
And he's done this a
come
few
from?
times though, and every time he's been
that's
ineffective in that
for,
role.
For me, right? Okay, big Hendo Beta, as everybody knows, right? That's the equivalent of Kenny saying, "Don't play on the right wing, son." You can't do it. He can't do the job. He's totally incapable of doing the job.
It was like a number 10 on elastic band from the other centre midfielders, wasn't it? So it was almost like he was going to get dragged back from the attacking once because he'd have to keep an eye on what was going on behind him, because really he was part of a midfield three, even though the two were meant to sit.
And he did nothing.
Yeah. I've got to say, Sturridge must be thinking, actually, I'm not entirely sure about this now.
I don't know. I mean, I think he was great when he first came in. Then he got injured, and then that game to me makes sure. Well, he'll have to start now, won't he? Because Suarez won't play for the rest of the season. I think in a way that might be they're making. Suarez's ban. I mean, Suarez might never play for the team again, but I think the Suarez's ban will basically will be the making.
Will he put Sturridge up front? And Henderson as the number 10 again. I hope not.
Look at the other decisions on it. I mean, I don't want to mention the other two players. Coutinho on the left-hand side was just... I mean, there's your number 10.
It seems odd, doesn't it? Because that's his position.
But Posh James, our exalted ex-colleague Posh James, who wants, hopefully we'll see in the next couple of weeks, posted on our Facebook page. He went, well, let's have a look at this. A lineup that we don't seem to know where the 11 should be playing. We're awful in the first half and much better in the second half, and Suarez is in trouble again. Is it August?
Yeah.
I mean, we seem to have. I've got to tell you that there is a lot of people beginning now to lose patience because that lineup came out and literally we all stood around and went, "What? What is it?" Yeah. When they lined up, we thought, "Oh, well, that's going to be a midfield three," and then we thought that obviously Coutinho and Downing are going to break to make the forward three. Coutinho was pulled back by Rodgers every time he went forward. And then when you see Henderson being actively encouraged to make the break and get in the box, we thought, okay, it might work. He's trying to run from deep and running behind them. Then you've got to realise that obviously Jordan Henderson has got no idea how to play that game. No idea when to make the run.
When we bought Henderson, did he not play a similar role for Sunderland? Did he not?
He was you would call the restrained side of Gerrard. He's
like a quarterback.
He was a quarterback. He was a distributor. Okay. He was in front of a defensive two, but distributing the ball. He was a couple of the times you've seen that. A couple of the defence splitting passes he's laid on in the last couple of games. He's done quite well for that, but. His timing of his runs was atrocious.
But I think the way the game's panned out, it puts a whole different sort of spin on it. But when we went into that game, we were 7th in the league, trying to get 5th, and it's kind of like, and that's because the last 3 or 4 games after beating Tottenham, we just gone into.
We've been awful.
We couldn't stop scoring in January. Then we beat Tottenham, and it's over. It's like, God, look at that. We pulled that one out of the fire. And then we decided not to be able to play. And that was not because he dramatically changed the team in any way, shape or form. Players just didn't things didn't go quite right. And so that lineup that he put out wasn't particularly surprising. It wasn't enthralling either. And for 45 minutes, we kind of wondered.
Yeah, but it was a very defensive team. It was a very defensive team.
But I think that's where he gets. I think he's almost like it's that. Respecting, isn't it? You remember when he played?
But that didn't happen at the start. But that didn't happen at the start of the season.
They were terrible.
Stamford Bridge, they were the same thing.
But they were terrible at Stamford Bridge as well.
For the 45 minutes, I'm saying.
We never seem to put it. We never seem to do a 90-minute.
All right.
Now if you think about it, we got out of jail at Stamford Bridge as well.
Yeah, because it was 1-0 at half time. I'm just saying it was a bit like when we talked about the time.
But the difference was at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea were that much better than us. Yesterday, Chelsea were awful.
No, that's true. But you can't predict that, can you? That's what
Are we missing Skirtle at the back?
No, not in the slightest. That's what Jamie Carragher was our best player.
But we're still giving away sloppy goals.
Yeah, but that's because we have a centre forward in the box that shouldn't be there. The marking for the first game, the marking was Agger for the first goal. Carragher tried. Carragher Carragher tried to cover.
Basic defending, like a man on each post or a man on the front or whatever.
You're not going to get Lucas leaves the post.
No, I know that's my point. It's sloppy defending.
Put Skirtle in there, he's not going to organise anyway.
Last season, didn't Dalglish put Suarez on the halfway line when we were in court, didn't he? Why don't we do that? It doesn't make any sense. He's no use. It's not use ornament in the box, is it?
No. You've got to look at also. Okay, so we had sloppy defending. That happens in any game, though. To be
Yeah,
fair.
but that happens in a lot of our games.
Yeah, but the first goal, I couldn't really. That's football. You can't happen too much of that. I mean, we went to defending by zones, playing. We tried to go zonal defending against Rafa Benitez. I mean, if there's ever a bad decision to make, if anybody knows how to exploit a team that are trying to defend zonally from free kicks, it's bound to be Rafa. I thought Jamie Carragher was, in every way, shape and fashion, the Liverpool captain that we've needed for the last 3 or 4 years. That's no disrespect to Steve, but we haven't had a figure that grabs people literally by the throat and drags them around the pitch. Yesterday, Carroll was immense in every way, shape,
well, he was,
format.
but he's only played half a season, so he's going to be, isn't he?
He's like,
but the idea that he continues to do that next season is an insanity to me. We've got to bring in at least. Skittle's gone. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah,
we'll get decent money for him. That's fine.
And Coates is obviously not in the equation.
So you've got to bring in at least one decent, experienced centre half. But when you bring that centre half in, there's got to be a talker. He's got to be an organiser. He's got to be a man.
Oh, that's why they're looking probably at Ashley Williams. Because,
I worry about that. You look at the amount of goals that they leak, and I worry. I mean, he's a big man and all that, but I'm not sure he's. But I don't know who else that is. I'd
like to go back to a couple of people who, after seemingly cementing their place in a shirt in the last 3 or 4 games. Admittedly, let's go back 3 or 4 games where we haven't played very well. Because I go back to Ian's point, we were awful against Tottenham as well, and we got a result, which is normally what people do to us, right? But Henderson and Downing, what was the point yesterday?
We've been saying that all season.
Yeah, I go Henderson always being put. I'm not Henderson's greatest fan. I think he's a limited player. But if you put him in a wrong position, he hasn't got the nous to be able to cope with it. Okay.
How many times
Downing is playing in his position, and he just doesn't look that arsed majority of the time. And you've said he had a brilliant game here and there. I genuinely don't. I still have not seen a game where he's dominated a game. He's dominated a game, and he's looked like a threat. And I just can't see it. I just can't see it, and I don't understand why he's starting. I really don't.
Have we not seen? Have we seen the last of Sterling for this season?
Yeah, Sterling won't play again this season.
What about Suso?
Suso won't play this season in the first team again.
It seems insane. It seems insane. I don't understand why those players.
For Suso, Ruud Coutinho. I mean, you're not gonna. You've got. I mean,
Suso played.
All right, he missed the sitter. I thought Shelvey at least brought us some physical presence.
And he also
got further up the pitch, made better runs. He made better runs.
He still tackles like it's about 1985.
At least he tackles, Stuart.
He
tackles like Steven Gerrard did when he first came.
If he'd been seen, he'd have been off. So it's kind of pointless, really.
I must admit, I see Shelvey as I do see early Steven Gerrard.
Steven Gerrard was 17 when he was doing that. This guy's 21, and it's kind of like
still doing it when he was 21.
But he was.
But I still think he's got an impetus, and he's got he gave the ball away too much. He also fluffed that chance and all that. But I still think he's got a bit of a heart on him and a bit of a.
I like him when he comes on.
But I can't. I see.
He was brought on at 2-1 as well. Let's be honest. He was brought on to get us a goal. So he wasn't brought on to hold the game.
I still find myself when Shelvey comes on and he's getting stuck in, and he's raw and everything. I still find myself, going, "Go on, son, go on, get in there." And the team does not make me do that much lately. So,
if you go through the side,
Exactly,
I mean, we've got some tweets and some Facebook messages, obviously, because of the magnitude of the events that took over the day later on that we're going to talk about in part 2. But Manny Pereira, who has been a guest of this parish, so to speak, in the past, I was sort of reading these while I'm in the game as well. He's put, what has Glenn Johnson done for Liverpool lately? And Glenn sort of faded into total mediocrity.
Well,
I think he's knackered.
Yeah, he probably is now. I mean, I didn't think Johnson was that bad.
I thought Enrique was poor. I thought Johnson was poor. I think Agger looks just lost at the moment. He looks,
and
Rayner's concentration.
As a team, we look tired and jaded, and it looked like a team that knows they're not.
Well,
I'm not saying we should or we shouldn't.
Chelsea have had 12 games in a period where we've had 5.
I'll tell you why, because Chelsea have got something to play for. We have got nothing to play for. And these players should not be doing this at 200,000 a week, but they are. And that's why, in the first half, I was watching it and I thought, this looks like a team that just is not playing for anything. They don't look as if.
I think you're right. And then when the Sturridge came on, the Sturridge was playing something.
Yeah, of course, he had something to prove. That's why.
And, let's go back to let's take Sturridge and take Torres. Jesus Christ, the difference. Right, one player cost £50 million. I know people laugh at us buying Carroll, but at least Carroll's looking like a player, a half decent player occasionally. Yeah. That player, apparently that's the 6th time he's played against us, and he hasn't got anywhere near.
He's got shot on target.
No. I tell you what was really, really telling. Second half, ball came to Torres diagonally, right hand side of goal, and he crossed it in.
Yeah. Whereas he would have shot the
any striker who's confident or had anything about them or anything would have been trying to lash that into the net and been as greedy as they like. And he tries and crosses it.
We spoke in the pub briefly. We all know what his assets used to be, and we all know the reasons they're probably not there anymore. But even secondary pace, he's got nothing.
Why?
80 minutes into the game. Jamie Carragher was.
His knees gone?
He's gone. He's completely gone. In 80 minutes into the game, Carragher was outpacing him for every through ball. All right, the heart wasn't there to go and chase it down, especially after he'd elbowed Jamie in the face.
Yeah.
He probably thought, I'm going to get my head kicked in if I go anywhere near him again. Yeah. But there was no heart and no desire to be there at all. And we were all, I joked, I said this earlier, we were all joking. We chanted Rafa periodically through the game. And one of the reasons toward the end we said we were doing it, if we keep him sweet, he might not bring Demba Ba on, because if he does, we're screwed, basically.
That was my thought,
But there's constantly talk about him coming back and stuff, but I don't know whether could you resurrect him as a player?
I used to think it was possible prior to watching him yesterday, and it's just, you talk about fragile confidence of Jordan Henderson. That's a shell of a man playing football yesterday.
But why?
He's like a kid at the new school, isn't he?
But I tell you what, we're saying how bad he is, and I don't know the numbers. He's actually scored quite a lot of goals this season.
Yeah, but he's actually
very strange.
You go back to, it's a bit like saying you've got the kid who scores, when the kid who used to play for your school score 8 against the team, the school that's a year younger from down the road. His actual performance in games that matter don't count.
Yeah. So for
dead rubbers in the Champions League.
For all that was bad about the first half, then for the opening 10 minutes of the second half,
we were incredible.
We were amazing. I think it was 4 chances in 2 minutes. I think it was. Wasn't it?
The Suarez and Sturridge, they like playing with each other, and you can see that. You can see they've got a thing, and like the ball from Suarez for Sturridge and the finish.
Let's talk about the finish from Sturridge.
Hold on, can I just say the downing back heel thing? That linked the play.
But that finish from Sturridge was in direct opposite to Torres. That was a player who was confident in his own ability at this time.
When he hit the post, give me the ball.
Give me the ball. I'm going
and then he could have. Suarez, Torres would never have had a go at that.
No.
But he hit it, and that was
minimum backlift. Wonderful, confident, and, great to see.
I just thought again.
But don't you then come back to it's fucking April?
Yeah.
And why isn't he so? Why, if he's not fit, I can't have this. If he's not fit, start him and take him off when he runs out of juice. Because if he's not fit, don't put him on where he can then break down if he's not fit in the first place. If he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to start the game. Use him till you get in front in a game. Surely this is just simple logic. Right?
No, no managers do that.
I was going to say, you never see them do that. No manager does it. Why are managers completely different to the rest of the country?
You know what? That's what I was talking about Rafa, because if there was the situation was reversed, okay, and we were playing Chelsea and Rafa was our manager,
I would have had 7 midfielders.
We would have hit them really early on, full on. That's what we used to do.
10 minutes.
That's what 10 minutes. 10 minutes the first half, 10 minutes the second half,
and then sit off and see what happens.
And it's just like it just didn't seem that arsed, and none of his players seemed that arsed. Chelsea's players. I mean, they didn't seem that arsed. It wasn't that a big a deal to any of them.
To be fair,
but then again, I suppose
Ivanovic Ivanovic and Cech were the only Chelsea players that actually looked interested in the entire game.
But Ivanovic is a beast. He's a proper old-fashioned defender, and that hence why he ends up getting bitten.
I actually think that the motivation for that was, as I've always thought, the motivation for Evra. I just think as Tim Vickery said it on the radio today, who's the BBC's South American football correspondent, and he said that Suarez has been brought up in an environment where that all happens in every single game. Yeah. But I'm not excusing it. He said that was every single game, and the South American media have made fun of the whole thing because it's a win at all costs attitude. With Evra, he said what he said to Evra, whatever it was to get a response. Yesterday, he's thinking, this bloke is probably the only defender in there. I can't get past him. He's driving me mental.
Got to do something.
If I do something, he might have a swing at me and get sent off. And that's the whole motivation.
Because you know what? Yeah. Because he is an animal.
Yeah.
He's just a football animal. He's a monster. He wants to win at all costs.
Regardless.
Okay. So he don't care. He don't care about any of it all. And you know what? What he isn't, it's someone that goes out of his way to hurt people. He's not. He's not that player. So he's not a player.
He's not
Graham Souness. He's not Roy Keane.
Save it for part two.
We should save it for part two. But he's not that type of player. But he will do anything. He'll handball. He'll cheat. He'll pick your pocket.
I'm going to say, isn't that what eventually became the problem? Is that in his kind of at all costs, he tried to do a handball and got caught.
But
and then how gutted did he look?
Yeah, but
I'll tell you what,
that ball was a shit dive because he went, I'm going to fall backwards and look as though
I know.
But the thing is, if he hadn't have done that, Torres could have headed that ball straight in.
Yeah. But it's very obviously South American is very reminiscent of Maradona's handball. There must be a particular school of.
But I think that set the ball rolling because at that point you're thinking, here we go, we'll get. At that point you're thinking, controversy in the game, we're going to get the deliberate handball, lost it for Liverpool.
We'll never hear of this.
Never hear
the end of this. No one's mentioning penalty, are they?
No, it's like nobody's mentioned.
Actually, I'd like to mention the penalty because you've got Oscar has taken 4 penalties for Chelsea. I know this before I go to the game that Oscar puts it in the same place. Every single time.
Gerrard walked up and told him where he was going to put it. Storage.
No, the one he missed. The thing they showed on the screen. The one he missed is the one.
Going with Manny, another comment from Manny as well, which I totally agree with. So 4 times out of 5 he's gone that way, right?
Go with the percentage.
If he puts it the other way, at least you can stand there as the keeper and say, well, 4 times, 90% of the time he puts it in that corner.
Go with the percentage. Because that's what a penalty is. It's a percentage. It's a 50%, 50%, one or the other. You go with it. So what do? You go with the statistics.
After that, we've revved up the game. We're in it, and then we're out of it again. And then actually we did that ended the adrenaline we had that Sturridge brought on dissipated completely. We
ran out of it.
Well, that's the Liverpool capitulation.
No, but
it goes against us.
I mean, it wasn't just the goal. It was just like that. We stopped. Then it was like whatever energy we tried to do to get the game back by the scruff of the neck. We just thought, we won't do that for a bit. Until probably when Shelby came in, wasn't it? I think that's when the energy.
We had another 2 or 3 chances again after that. But let's be honest. When he made that substitution. And I saw Coutinho walk into the line.
Yeah.
It was one of those times where you start thinking, you can't help it. What goes through the mind is, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What? Surely you must be looking at Downing and Henderson and thinking, are you not watching the same fucking game as everybody else?
Absolutely.
Yeah, surely it was Henderson off.
But I think, like you said, I think Henderson was compromised.
I would have,
or even
I wouldn't have had Downing on the pitch in the first place.
No, I know
that. But then again, I'm not his greatest fan.
No. But I think that's a worry from if when Sturridge is fit and Rodgers is putting Sturridge on the bench at probably the expense of Downing as part of that front three, then Sturridge must be going. All right, I was at a club that might be in the Champions League regularly enough. And then I thought, well, I want first team football in the Premier League, so I'll go to Liverpool and I'll try and, be part of their growth. And then I'm on the bench and Downing's playing, and I think that must be a bit of a win.
He wasn't fit though. The last couple of times he's come on, he's not looked that great, and because he looked slightly off the pace. When he came on in this game, he looked off the pace because he was faster than everybody else. He looked like
we can't.
He's a fired-up player.
I'll give you my other complaint, because we are doing very well at just talking about the game. We stayed away from it again. A plan B. Again, no plan B whatsoever. Absolutely no plan B whatsoever. No change to it. We change a little bit of the personnel, and nothing changed at all.
The thing is, he has a set way of playing. Okay, you can move people out of position and fatten the midfield up and have one up, but essentially he's going to play that passing style no matter what. And that is essentially one of the flaws of the way we play. Actually, we're not as good as Barcelona at keeping hold of the ball, but that's what he wants to try and play.
Well, I tweeted yesterday.
He wants to play this style at the expense of
pragmatism.
Everything else,
We ain't got another option on the bench.
Well, I tweeted yesterday we're tiki-taka in the piss now, because this is getting us. I was.
If you follow my mum's cola on Twitter, it was this tiki-taki's boss, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just sitting there looking at yesterday with our ball retention was awful.
Yeah.
The passing from it's April. They should be well into this by now. There was a couple of times we made, about 35 yards out. We kept the ball, we danced around, we kept the possession quite nicely. But this was Dalglish football. It never got any further than that. It broke down every single time it went forward.
We're seeing, though, in the last 3 or 4 games, a mental fragility that hasn't eroded since Roy Hodgson took charge of the team. Yeah. We've had a mental fragility, full stop. But didn't you say, Stuart, the club now employs we've got a psychologist? Oh yeah, no, but I don't know what he's doing.
Well, he's psychologizing people.
Well, he's mentally fragile.
In his risk survey, he must have gone, that's Suarez's fan.
We need to get in touch with Marcus Babbel. He needs to get rid of him.
Of course. What we want is Luis Suarez to lay down and be treated by the healing stones.
That's what he needs, doesn't he? Anyway, should we wrap it up there so I can rant like a bastard about this?
Let's talk about upcoming games. We've got Newcastle away. Now, Alan Pardew today has said, fantastic quote, what you want to hear from your manager. I mean, I know Brendan's come out with some classics. Have you heard Alan Pardew today?
No.
Don't care where we finish as long as we don't get relegated.
For fuck's sake, really? Wow. Was that a conversation in the pub? Just some Geordie fans?
Sorry, this was Pardew.
Alan Pardew today. I don't care where we finish. I don't care. Alan Pardew, Newcastle, don't care where we finish as long as we don't get relegated. Can I just actually
that's the other thing to point out about the furore was actually post-match, when Brendan Rodgers went to speak to the press, obviously, somebody had told him something had gone on, and he was aware of what he was meant to say. It didn't look like. I'd
like to say that whoever the mystery new head of communication is, which we'll talk about in part 2, fuck me, he's very good at his job instantly, isn't he? But again, she. Come in,
well, that's
get a woman in charge of what to say.
Yeah.
But also, as we said earlier, big praise to Rafa Benitez, because after the game, Rafa was
like a two-hander.
Rafa was having. I just loved it. I mean, I watched it when we got back, and there's that. So, what's your opinions on this? I didn't see anything. So, do you not feel it's difficult to, for that player to score the equaliser? He's on the pitch. I didn't see any reason why he shouldn't be on the pitch, and I loved it. The whole look of the face was, fuck off, little boy. You're getting absolutely nothing out of me today, isn't it, as well? And wouldn't you just love to video that, send it to Brendan and go, every week, son?
Yeah,
that's it. Every single week will be fine by us.
Similar, did Mourinho do a similar thing?
About the 5 or 6 minutes, didn't he? Yeah. He did his moan. There was a break, and I don't know who was interviewing. Was it Jeff Sheaves?
Yeah.
Jeff Sheaves obviously going to ask him about the biting, and then he just goes, no. Go on.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me on to the second half of the podcast, and I will be getting angry, so stick with us.
Are all the buttons on your shirt going to stay on?
I've brought one already.
I'm going to say
because I am proper furious about this. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for chatting. Thank you for
yeah.
See you in part 2.
See you in part 2.